And here are the types of therapeutic approaches that are being studied. First, there are novel ways to restore the metabolic function of PAH, the deficient enzyme. Kuvan restores that metabolic function by adding synthetic cofactor BH4 for patients who are lacking it. Other cofactors are also in development, as are other ways of restoring the metabolic function of the deficient enzyme. The exact restoration or repair that needs to be made can vary by the genetic mutation that each patient carries. Some patients have a mutation that results in deficient cofactor. Other patients have a mutation that causes the enzyme to fold improperly, preventing it from performing its job correctly. There are potential chaperone therapies that can correct the misfolding of the protein if that is what your particular genetic mutation causes. One example of this is work being done by Pluvia Biotech, who earlier this year shared news that they received additional funding to support their efforts. Another therapeutic approach is to provide substitute enzyme, an enzyme that's different from PAH, but can perform the same function. Palynziq provides a substitute enzyme in the form of injectable PAL. The challenge with substitute enzyme is figuring out how you get it to a place in your body where it can do its job. This is called delivery in drug development. Enzymes are big and complex. Most enzymes, if you swallow them, are so big that your stomach would digest them into pieces or change them in a way that they don't work anymore. But the state of science is evolving, and there are multiple research teams discovering ways to solve the delivery challenges with substitute enzyme. This is a vibrant area of research. Codexis is developing an oral form of PAL that is in the early stages of drug development. They are using their technology to engineer an active therapeutic enzyme that could be stable in your GI system, meaning that it could be given orally to remove phenylalanine from the body. Some companies are developing engineered probiotic bacteria or microbes that could substitute for deficient PAH. We all have hundreds of trillions of symbiotic microbes that live within us, especially in the gut. They're natural, beneficial bacteria, and engineered versions of these can be used to help remove excess phenylalanine. One example of this is Synlogic's efforts. They initiated a clinical trial in April and are developing their technology called synthetic biotic medicines. Their compound for PKU is an engineered probiotic bacteria that metabolizes phenylalanine from the diet and blood, potentially lowering overall phenylalanine levels. A third approach to providing substitute enzyme is by attaching it to red blood cells. The red blood cells may help protect the substitute enzyme from your immune system and deliver it to the phenylalanine that it needs to digest. Rubius Therapeutics is an example of this. They are using their technology to genetically engineer red blood cells to express biotherapeutic proteins within or on the surface of cells. They are planning to file an application early next year to begin human clinical trials of one such treatment for PKU. And there are other developers also pursuing red blood cell delivery at earlier stages of development. Another broad category of possible treatment for PKU is to add to the liver entire liver cells that are capable of expressing fully functional PAH enzyme. In the first therapeutic approach we talked about improving or correcting your own enzyme to make it work better. In the second approach, we talked about providing different enzymes that could substitute for PAH. In this approach, we could add a whole functional liver cell to your liver that, if it works, would grow and live there and allow those cells to produce a healthy version of PAH. And this could potentially be done by a liver cell transplant, an approach that's being studied by both the University of Pittsburgh in a clinical trial and the Karolinska Institute in earlier stage development. And last but certainly not least are the innovative gene therapies that hold the promise of one-time treatment and addressing disease at the genetic level. The nomenclature in this area can be confusing. Terms are not used consistently between companies, and sometimes even within one company, and it can make these incredibly complex technologies even harder to understand. One type of gene therapy is gene addition, by which I mean adding new pieces of DNA to your cells. For PKU, these pieces of DNA would carry the instructions to make healthy PAH enzyme. Another category is gene editing, which typically refers to approaches such as CRISPR or zinc finger nucleases or other methods of editing or cutting your DNA that result in the correction of the genetic error that causes PKU. Gene therapies typically require the use of a vector that can serve as a delivery vehicle for the treatment. And a vector is needed because the treatment has to reach all the way down into your cells, into the nucleus and the DNA. And it takes a very special delivery mechanism to do that. And the type of vector that is needed to deliver the gene therapy will vary, and it will impact how it's administered. Some gene therapies may be administered by IV infusion, whereas others may require a clinician to remove cells from the body, perform the gene addition or gene editing, and then return the engineered cells back to the patient. And that's called ex vivo gene therapy, or outside the body. All of the gene therapies are intended to be one-time, or at least very long-acting treatments. They haven't been available long enough for us to know yet the full duration of their effect. And there are multiple companies studying and making great progress on gene therapy for PKU. Examples include BioMarin, Homology Medicines, and American Gene Technologies. For me, looking in from the outside, the breadth and volume of these possibilities for PKU is extraordinary. The best news for this community is that you have multiple different promising approaches to treatment being developed. You want that, both because no one can know with certainty which ones will work, and also because the best solution for one person may not be the same for someone else or at the same point in someone's life. It is ideal to have multiple options available so that families can find the treatment or combination of treatments that works best for them.